Everyone's favorite smelly vacation destination, Yellowstone National Park. It was established as the very first national park in 1872, and since then it's been drawing geology enthusiasts, families, and buffalo harassers. I recently took a trip there for roughly the 700th time, but, much like when I was 6, I still enjoyed making smelly jokes and being terrified of looming bear attacks. You won't experience a wallet attack when you pull up to the entrance. The fee for one car for 1 week is $25, and this fee includes a pass for Grand Teton, too. That naughtily named park is fairly close to Yellowstone and also worth a look. We only had 2 days though, so we stuck with the home where the buffalo roam. Going any time that is not midsummer is best, unless you like people actually walking over you to get to Old Faithful. They're not trying to be mean, there's just no ground visible under the throngs of people and cameras and kids threatening to jump into the hot geothermal areas.
There are all sorts of thermal areas in the park, including this geyser, but you should definitely pay attention to the signs that tell you to stay away from them, unless when you watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit when you were a kid, you stopped and thought, I'd really like to step in the cartoon dip.
One of the best places to check out the geothermal stuff is at Mammoth Hot Springs. You also have Old Faithful, tons of fun stuff along the Firehole Lake Drive, and a bunch of interesting things in the Midway Geyser Basin. During this trip, we stopped at all of those except for Old Faithful. Old Faithful has too many adoring fans. We don't like adoring fans. We are adoring fans of hiking, though. There are all sorts of hikes offered around Yellowstone. There are short ones, long ones, green ones, brown ones, and ones where you might be eaten by a bear. We were going to go on one recommended hike at Bunsen Peak, but we saw this sign and didn't want to be Yogi's picnic basket or have to change our pants every time we heard a squirrel, so we didn't go. We were just a twosome. We need more friends if you want to hike. We did check out a few shorter ones, though.
There are over 900 miles of hiking trails around Yellowstone, including this really quick 1 mile round trip hike to Wraith Falls. We're here in September when there are a lot less people, so I'm a little bit creeped out because I'm more convinced that we're going to get attacked by a wild animal, but something like spicing up a vacation with the threat of woodland animal attack.
We didn't see any angry hooded figures looking for rings when we were out and about. Yes, I will bring just about everything back to Lord of the Rings. Hiking during the day does not require any permits. Some other popular hikes are the Fairy Falls hike, the hike to Shoshone Lake, Mount Washburn, and the Lost Lake Loop, among others. You can go to Yellowstone's website for a more complete list. Just be sure to hike safely. Have water, a jacket, or something else weatherproof and warm, bug spray, bear spray, some kind of first aid kit, and lots of sunscreen. Stay on the path to make sure you know what to do if Yogi decides to show up to steal your picnic basket or your arm. Seeing a bear has to be scary enough if you're not in your car or wearing medieval armor. If you're not sure what to do, that's got to be even worse. If you aren't already well versed in the art of not being mauled by Smokey the Bear, the Yellowstone website has plenty of tips for you. Speaking of bears, they're just one of many animals roaming around the park. That's one of the best bits about visiting.
Yellowstone is filled with a wide variety of animals, from the buffalo that have absolutely no regard for the rules of the road, to elegant elk, to grizzly bears that pretty much cause a traffic jam anytime they make the slightest appearance. While some of those animals are sort of elusive, one species you are sure to see, probably hundreds of times each day that you're here, is the person who acts like a dummy around animals. Keep a lookout for them.
I have a few pictures of this very prevalent species, but I didn't want to park shame them. While there this past time, we saw lots of buffalo, elk, and people who thought petting both was totally acceptable. At one point, there was a buffalo traffic jam. We went to a turnout to let them pass, and we got to see what it's like to be in a buffalo herd for a good 2 minutes. It was dusty, grunty, a little terrifying, and we didn't like it. We did like seeing all the elk in the Mammoth Hot Springs area. I especially liked the little ones who basically had their faces shoved into the grass. That's the way to eat. We also saw some bighorn sheep, a deer, and a variety of birds. I'm not a big bird watcher, but there have been nearly 300 species of birds seen in Yellowstone, so if you're into that kind of stuff, you get your bird on. When you're hungry after a day of going peeping Tom on birds, where are some good places to eat? We came through the West Yellowstone entrance since we're potato people, otherwise known as Idahoans, so I'll recommend from there. After our first day in the park, we had some pizza and breadsticks at Wild West Pizzeria, which is pretty close to the park entrance and rated highly by the always trustworthy internet. The breadsticks were really good even though they were flat and looked like imposter breadsticks. I prefer a diet that promotes plant murder, some people call us vegetarians, so we got a cheese, mushroom, and fresh tomato pizza. It was a little Pizza Hutty, a phrase for people who don't approve of proper English, but it was still pretty good. At well under $30 for the meal and a 20% tip, it's worth the price. There's also a saloon just down the hall, so you can listen to fun small town Montana music and watch drunken shenanigans. The next day we had lunch at Taqueria Las Palmitas. It's a bus that produces food. Come on, you gotta check that out. I had the super burrito with veggies and my travel buddy had enchiladas. We were both very pleased and energized enough to headbutt some elk. Don't worry, we didn't. I'm sure you knew that we didn't do that since we're not dead. I really liked the burrito. The meal for both of us was under $25. It fills your tummy and does not empty your bank account, unless you empty the rest of it trying to bribe a park ranger to let you buy a pet buffalo. As for lodging, we actually stayed at the Guest House Inn all the way in St. Anthony, Idaho. It's about an hour away from the park. It was the only place we could get a deal for that weekend and not get bedbugs. It was a nice enough place, adequate for just a place to sleep. It was good too because we took the Mesa Falls Scenic Drive and saw this monster waterfall. It was $5 for admission for our car, but please, check out Mesa Falls if you're coming from the southern Idaho direction. Even if you're not, go, come on. So, Yellowstone. $25 for week-long access, packed with hikes, boiling water, road-raging buffalo, and the background fear of woodland animal attacks. Plus, there's a town nearby with super burritos that were birthed in a bus. Check it out.